Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS Summer here. My name's Hysterix, and as your guest caster, it is my privilege to welcome in Nightstar, our resident here, as a color caster who has just gone through what impunity have sent us, which was pretty much nothing in the first game. But before we get into the next one, CDBC Bank, big thank you as our official sponsor. Right Games, Carry Life, Co, and Karina, our PCS League operators, and our full production team. Big thank you to them as well. Now, Nightstar, I told you before, that first game was perfection, quite literally, from PSG Talent against Impunity. I'm hoping this next one is going to be a little bit more close between DWT team and Sem9, who are both looking for their first game win, in the PCS Summer.
Yeah, this is only going to happen once in the split, because the next time they face each other, one of these teams will already have a win, and that's going to be because of this game. So it'll be time to see who gets that first win. Sem9, though, have looked a lot stronger overall in this during the split, and they're still going through some musical chairs in their roster, as we can see here. No name Arashi, she had Dodo starting in the mid lane technically, and then Caspio Ashen. But make no mistake, even once the champion select goes through, expect them to possibly continue to cycle through roles.
Yeah, that's right. Because Axon, even though like he could swap within champs, like he's still technically on the roles a bit later as well. We got that game against Meta Falcon team, which, you know, anything could come through, as you said. I wanted to kind of touch on Sem9 quickly, as, you know, a team with promise, right, for a 0-17. And you were saying to me that last game, even against PSG Talon, they started out really nicely. Excuse me, it was DCG. They started out really nicely and kind of had a bit more direction than we'd seen in previous games itself.
Yeah, the shot calling seems to be more together with this team. However, we get to see the lineup coming in from DWT team. No changes across the board. Lakunai up in the top lane, WSL. Xiao2, Bang2, Enhao. This team, it's hard to find something positive to say, but if I were to try and dig deep, it's Lakunai being able to play some of these more scaling top laners and find some sort of scalability here, but the rest of the map does feel like it's just constantly on fire.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if there was ever a bottom of the table standings, or rather head-to-head that you want to see in any league, it's this one. A lot of flaws, but maybe, just maybe, we get the best out of someone like No Name, right, who's already picked up the Nasus. His champion pool's a lot of fun. And we know that, like, the goal difference of 14 is always going to be a big gaping hole for these two top laners, but it is about some of the strongest elements on the Rift, and seems to be the top lane where we put our focus for this one.
Yeah, No Name doing very well for himself, even on an 0-17, right? He's not that far behind at 14 minutes. His DPM is very, very high for a top laner, almost 30% of his team's damage. Also helps out that the bot lane is incorporating some more supportive style champions, like what we saw yesterday, which was the Seraphine that almost got them over the line in yesterday's game over DCG. But I expect to see some sort of targets towards the Seraphine, some of these more weak side bot laners, that then allows you to just focus all your time and effort from Arashi up in this top side.
Maybe we see more things like Senatom. We get, you know, our Felios Renata lanes that we know do well enough in the 2v2, but have good disengage as well. It feels like the options are there, and for Sem9, 0-25 being the yearly score. Now, all I can say is that right now, there might be a little bit of bias coming through. This team has been at the bottom of the barrel. I don't want another V5 story, right? 2020 spring, 0-17 or 16 in the LPL. We even had another split. I think it was 2021. It was either spring or summer, where they did it again. And now they're first in the LPL. So, I don't know. Do I want it to happen? Probably not. But if it does, let's be real. They could be the V5 of the future for the PCS. This is how it begins.
Might be a stretch. Might be a stretch.
Okay, well, You're not going to take that one on board. Fair enough. I love the pause, the absolute disbelief.
Might need some more resources than what V5 has to offer, because V5 do have, you know, some things to go around, and 7-9, maybe the path to that is a little bit more murky than you'd like to say.
Well, look, let's be real, you know, V5, yeah, they have Mario Ho, and you know, I know what you say, there's a bit of money there, that's fair enough, but I think that the biggest thing for me is that for V5, it took a couple of years. They developed talent, they had a really good split, and they found out what kind of worked. And yeah, it's a rebranding of the roster. Like, we have Casa, rookie, on the same team. Rich has come from LCK. What same members are there? Well, PP God's still there. And PP God was a supporter, came in strong, but then kind of developed over on another roster. Photic as well from Top Esports. I feel like core elements can still stick around that we see that are quite strong, and build the bridge from there. As, you know, Arashi gives me vibes like that. I think, you know, it was talked about Lazar has had some pretty decent performances here and there as well. I think Pyra was pretty big on his performance yesterday as well against DCG. But you could say the same for Duish Team, couldn't you? Like, Nightstar, I want to say that Lacune, or Lacune, there's so many different versions of this French word, has been a focus. Xiao2 here and there as well. There are core elements we can focus on that do have some kind of positive light.
Yeah, for Duish Team, the focus really just has to be around this mid jungle 2v2. Of course, WSL Xiao2 playing away from the rest of the squad who are in the Taipei studio. And Xiao2, when he's found some success, has been playing more of these assassin and tempo style mid laners. The Rise, the LeBlanc, a big pick for him. And LeBlanc maybe not as effective in the current meta, but perhaps against a team like 7-9, that could be the angle that they look for to try and snowball and find some sort of ground to win the game.
Yeah, like, how hard is it going to be? Just a tangent from that. I've just noticed we do have a technical issue. Could have been here with Duish Team, as we have doors opening. So I'm not sure what that entails, but we'll see what comes up, and we'll find out for that technical issue ASAP. But for now, as we wait for our, you know, battle for the wooden spoon, as it were, I want to kind of look at some of the negatives, some of the things that have been consistent. I feel like, maybe the worst parts of the roster, right? What is it for you, Nightstar? Because I think for Duish Team, WSL for me has been like, wow, first 5 minutes, WSL looks like he has his direction. And then he looks like a headless chicken for the rest.
Yeah, for WSL, it's one of those jungler nightmares too, though, right? Where you have a set plan for the first couple of minutes, and that's when things are all even, right? No one's necessarily dying at level 1 or 2, hopefully. But then afterwards, you just see his lanes just fall behind very quickly, and at that point in time, as a jungler, it just can be so difficult to address which lane you need to set time to try and get back in the game with. And then he's set on these junglers that have to find impact early on, like the Lee Sin, and then after the 12-14 minute mark, you're just completely out of the game. You're just kind of wandering around, just like, I hope I catch somebody.
The chicken, the headless chicken. Nightstar, you've described the headless chicken as well. I want to say as well that, like, to give him some kind of benefit of the doubt, or at least some benefit overall, it is his first split. Like, this is his debut in competitive play. It's kind of like with LZ and Nature on Impunity. They debuted, they had a great performance, but also the tools around Impunity are probably stronger voices, where for people like Duish Team, look at the voices here. Like, who is the leader in this team?
Yeah.
Is it How? Is it Xiao2 after the last split? Like, elements of Hurricane Gaming? I don't know here, because for Duish Team, they can also look all over the place. We can finally get the pick of band. Thank you for waiting patiently with us, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Nightstar, where do you want to begin? Because already, our bans are very targeted once again.
Very much mid lane focus. There's some bot lane champions taken off the table as well. Zeri will, I'm not sure if you should. Okay, they end up banning away the Zarya again. It's just such a priority overall. Not sure if either of these two bot laners would be able to execute around it. But we'll see what is actually taken in first pick, because No Name, he's shown somewhat of a proficiency on this Gnar, a little bit of a reliance on being able to just stabilize for his team, provide his team with a winning lane, and that will be the first pick, which it feels a little bit odd, but again, both of these teams just trying to find that first win, and it's not necessarily about the meta, but more so about comfort.
And let's be real, when you set me up before to say that Nara is one of the strongest picks in the PCS, I mean, No Name might have played it twice and picked up some losses, but it still sits at 75%. And I have a lot of faith in that, considering that at the moment with the Wukong response, maybe it doesn't feel as strong as something like this Nara is. We're getting range already here from Sem 9 Nightstar. A lot of poke to build up this comp.
Alright, loving the start of this draft for Sem 9. For Duish team, Xiaotu locking in this Silas makes a lot of sense and offers you a lot of power in these team fights. You have a very squishy backline, and then you have a Gnar ultimate that you can steal away, and Silas is just a better Gnar who has access to the ultimate at all times.
True.
Going into the second phase, we'll see what kind of jungler Sem 9 want to pick up here, as Duish team will take away some of those. The Lee Sin, of course, one of Varashi's best historical champions, but not necessarily the greatest in the current meta. We'll see if he picks that up to try and spice things up, because he does have a lot of scaling, and it's about half of the map, so maybe he wants something with a little more oomph to help out with the scaling part.
Yeah, some of the agency to come with it perhaps as well. I feel like Arashi has had pretty unique picks. You know, the Volibears come through, the Kindred already this split too. With the Trundle banned away, it is only one jungle taken, so we still have Arashi with a plethora of options. But coming back to how you set up Duish team, the Stolen Gnarl, the Wukong already there. For this team, right now, I'm kind of excited to see where we go next, because with setup already being beautiful, the all-in, the skirmishing Nightstar has just been profound, to say the least, from the start of this draft.
And for Duish team, they've just picked up a draft that's really all about skirmishing and fighting. They have 3 bruisers essentially, with the Wukong, Silas, and the Sejuani, so they're just looking to fight non-stop. And for Sem 9, this is a pretty fragile draft so far, right? They go ahead, lock in the Graves. The Graves, of course, is going to outpower farm the Wukong, but when you look at Graves Corki, it does not inspire you in the slightest in being able to try and contest for mid-jungle priority. So Duish team, I feel like they've come out on top so far in this draft. And for Sem 9, they go and pair the Senna with the Scion. I love the exploration of other champions besides, you know, just the Tom, which did get banned in the second phase.
I feel like Brom is kind of OP here, not gonna lie. With the ability to engage already, Brom just looks so good here, Nightstar. Like, you have triple 80 carry with Gnar Scion. When you have a Sejuani lineup with Wukong, all I'm gonna say is, and how can pilots... Yeah, that's right. Like, think about the defensive capabilities and how it can flip. Brom does so much against this roster, and I'm glad I had to come in and pick that one apart. You're right, Duish team for the draft here. It feels like it all comes together a lot nicely, and you know what's a bit of a meme for me, Nightstar, is on the other side, you know, we have Caspiel as AD, we have Xiaodu in mid, who's playing an AD in Corki, despite the AD damage, and we now have an AD jungle in the Graves. Like, Corki's only AP damage, but we have 3 80 carries in essence. And for Sem 9, their poke is going to be pretty hard when, you know, you've been setting up the engage conditions of this draft, but also we see the Brom that rounds it out so perfectly.
Yeah, and not only that, but they have ways to really play around the Sejuani as well, right? They have 4 melee champions, and Sejuani really thrives when there are more than just herself and one other person. When you have 3, that's really the baseline where I feel like Sejuani just really gets to shine. And here they have 4 in addition with the Braum. There's just constant CC chains just coming out of nowhere because of those stun that can come out from both Braum and Sejuani. This is a really impressive draft from Duish team, and for Sem9, it really just comes down to, can they stabilize in the first 10 to 14 minutes and make sure they don't lose too much of that priority, because otherwise these side lanes are going to be playing the game by themselves, very isolated.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of worried about even when we get into a 5v5, like good scaling, but what does it matter if you have so many denial tools and so many angles to play it here for Duish team? But nevertheless, Sem9 versus DWT means only one thing. It means the first game win for these organizations in summer. But if Sem9 can do it, more so, this team will pick up its first game win all year round. Sem9 have been reeling for it. But Nightstar, by the sound of what you're setting me up for, I feel like your suspicion on this draft makes it so you're not really favoring them coming into this game, and that Sem9 have played a bit of a riskier option in how they, go past that mid game you were already mentioning before.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really tough draft to execute. I feel like for Sem9, if they're trying to play, trying to find a lane to play through, of course, it has to be that Gnar pick, and Arashi maybe try and set up some sort of vertical jungling. Maybe just try and split the map and make sure that No Name is able to just find 1v1 kills. He goes maybe a hull breaker after the Trinity Force, and you just kind of 1v9s that top half of the map. I feel like that's their most reliable point of attack, and then once, of course, Corki rockets do come online, maybe then you're able to find those pressure points. But for the most part, Sem9, we'll need to see how the early game plays out, really, because I'm struggling to find their win conditions early on.
I feel like there's a lot to break down with the draft. I mean, we haven't even talked about the Scion fasting lane here for Caspiel and Axon. Worth mentioning here that, we normally see it with Tom. Scion is a bit of a rare thing, but at least they're going to have more of a front line in the draft. And we can continue exploring here, Nightstar, because the way I see it is that once mid-game hits for Duish team, if they're equal, think about the skirmishing, the all-in, the tools. Yes. Hell, even in the laning phase, mid-jungle 2v2 has quite a lot of burst with Electrocute on the Stylus, with the all-in too. I feel like Dudu has to get through this lane calmly. Otherwise, if this Corki falls apart, then, well, maybe everything falls apart for Sem9 as well.
Yeah, and the scaling power is certainly there with the Corki and the Senna. This combination is really, really impressive once you get to the late game, right? Because you just outrange so many champions in the game once you get those Senna stacks stacked up. And that'll also be an important thing to keep track of, which, like, Caspiel on the Senna should have a lot of success because he is into Braum. He should be able to farm up a lot of these Senna souls. But we actually need to see that come through. But if they're able to get late game, the opening is there. It's just a matter of, can they get to that break point?
Yeah, again, it's just how you get there is always the biggest question. Now, we mentioned Sem9 a little bit here. We can look at what Duish team are going to start doing in the lane. Already a bit of a CS lead through mid, but maybe that's with the wave pushing out. I've noticed in the top side here, WSL looking for a lane gank, but that brush position with Fog of War only just works out. No Name not spotting this out. A ping comes through as the Arctic Assault manages as well, but Hyuna is just going to continue pushing him out while WSL plays the patient game in the top side.
Yeah, and he's going to have to spend a lot of time here because he needs to wait for this wave to bounce back, or No Name going aggressive once he hits Mega, which should be shortly. They're going to have to really bait this one out here because the wave really isn't in a position where he's going to make a mistake or bait it out.
If he crunches in, though, it could be a different story. However, WSL's still so patient. So for Lacunai, as he watches that wave get cleared up and No Name walks up, right now the Wukong's still waiting in. No Name is trying to play at range as he walks into lane, but WSL has been here for so long. He's committed so much time to this lane. They're hoping the kill comes through as No Name continues to do so much damage.
They're waiting for him to jump.
He has the hop available, and yeah, if he does it aggressive, he's dead, but WSL's still here. He's still here. The Wraith comes through.
Oh,
No
here we
name.
go.
Okay, now.
Wait.
But
What?
WSL's gone.
Huh?
Like Unite Arctic Assault's out. That was just horrible. Oh.
I thought the plan was there.
Jungle's now one-sided. Look at the
Oh.
CS. Oh, dear Lord. Gotta love it.
Yeah, and this is one of the things about Wukong is that you kind of power farm the 6 and you just continuously attack these lanes off of ult cooldown. But he's given up a little bit of free time to Arashi, and Arashi is just very, very far ahead. He's going to get this dragon on top of it, and now you got bonus souls coming in from Senna. This is really, really nice for the Senna early on. Arashi's getting a lot of EXP differential here as well because he's just so far ahead when it comes to camps. And he's going to have much more available for him to farm. As now WSL yet another lane gank.
Ooh, but this time might be more successful. At least gets a flash out from Caspiel's. Axon burns his own as well. Didn't want to get those concussive blows stacking up. And hey, you got to give him credit for this one. At least in the right time and the right place. And it does work out nicely. Is
Level 6.
Kunai getting all in because No Name knows that jungler's bot side. He flashes in for the wallop against the wall. The damage is hitting each and every marker. No Name has looked so good. Add one into the mix. Give him a name now. A solid good first blood is, yeah, the 4-man you mentioned. Xiaotu is level 6 and under turret Caspiel stands no chance, but a decimating smash that hits away. Xiaotu's taken turret. He almost dies, and a close call for Jewish team in the bot side, but they get the kill. But what does it cost here, Nightstar?
It's only going to cost them 1 plate. Corki doesn't exactly do a whole lot of tower damage, so not too much is the cost, but the 1v1 kill, instrumental up top side, because that means this Gnar is getting rolling. We get to see the replay. There was a bit of an extended fight because, of course, it is Sejuani, who is very durable, but No Name just slowly dogs him down. You just can't get away from Gnar at this point. Mini Gnar transformation, get the extra move speed, so even if he had flash, which he doesn't because it is Sejuani, and there's just no way to get out of that.
I mean, you were talking a lot about this Gnar lane, and you got to give yourself credit here, Nightstar. You hit the nail on the head when you talked about Sem9 having a lane that can actually play out the early game quite swiftly. Already, he does it himself, and it comes through that delayed gank from WSL. And I'm starting to think WSL stands for, what would SOFM like to do? And at this point, SOFM resonates with this player. Like, he would sit there for a minute and a half brush gank. I tell you what, he'd sit there for longer. And right now, he might get the response at the bottom side that gives a good dive kill to Xiaotu, but the problem is Arashi is still up massively in CS, getting closer towards the Umbral Glaive. And as he starts Herald here, look at where he is. I mean, they're going to try and dive again, but they're going to lose this Herald.
It's also a Scion, so he is going to take a little bit of effort to dive, and even then, you have to deal with his clone.
Concussive blows is there. In ulti at melee range, they're trying, but Enhao takes it up perfectly, and WSL does get out. So a good dive nevertheless, but Caspiel moved up to the Herald, and Xiaotu is so deep in the lane when they knew that Sem9 would topside.
That was definitely an unnecessary death coming in from Xiaotu. Proper response coming in from Duer's team, going for the dive in that bottom lane. Even though it takes a little bit of effort, they still are able to get the kill in relatively clean fashion. And now they're going to set up for a top dive here. Lakunai, he's in trouble.
Well, there's Mega Gnar coming through, but the problem is No Name doesn't have flashes. He gets him against the wall. Arashi's burst damage might be enough. That collateral damage, gorgeous. Arashi on fire thanks to his early farming, and with Herald in pocket. I mean, we're getting a replay here, but let's be real. Top's dead anyway.
Here, yeah. Oh, no!
That wasn't good.
All right.
That was... Nightstar, let me just say one thing. You knew Sion was solo down the bottom lane. So Xiaotu making a mistake, and this is what we talked about with Sem9. Oh, sorry, Jewish team. We're like, there's so many parts of the map that have been burning. This is why it's a 0-7 team. And against Sem9, like, decision-making has been questionable at times.
Yeah, and like right there, WSL, he makes the correct move, right? But in the mid lane, his mid laner just throws whatever plan and he has into the dumpster. So Xiaotu just that was a skill shot he did not want to land.
Yep.
And it cost his team quite a bit there. And Caspiel, he's been doing a fantastic job on this Senna. He's been roaming around, he's been able to farm souls and walking with Arashi, so he's played this out really, really well.
Nice caster curse.
Nice
little caster curse. Well done, Nightstar here.
curse.
But however, the double root means that Caspiel will survive. So yeah, he's okay for now. And look, Xiaotu is making his way down, but we're gonna question if Jewish team want to continue this play up because they have constantly been trying to dive bot over and over again. But the problem is Axon's ult up, Caspiel's ult up, Nightstar. I don't think this is repeatable unless you get everything flushed out.
And the other thing is, even if you gank this Scion over and over again, what does it do? Right? He's still going to be very effective on low econ, although Shiadodo possibly caught out, has the package available. That's going to be huge with this dragon coming up. They throw down a Rift Herald, but they could get caught out.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, I'm still skeptical. Arashi's huge.
Power down.
Collateral damage is almost up as well, and you're right. First Turret Blood goes over to Share Dudu and Arashi. Sem9 now with 3k gold leads early game is magnificent when it shouldn't have been. Like, we talk so much about this team's flaws in draft, and they've gotten away with murder here, as speaking of which, I mean, like Hyunai is suffering amidst the Herald charge mid.
Yeah, and this was an Ignite mid laner. They should have had a lot more mid jungle priority than what has actually happened.
With Electrocute.
So, yeah, you're packing so much damage. You have to look for these 2v2 skirmishes, but they've missed their timing window by a large margin. And now Sem9, this is where their composition really starts to turn online. You've got triple range, but Bang 2, he's out on his own.
He arcane shifts, he's now flashed. That was just questionable here from the 80 carry of Jewish team. Onto Dragon, they want to steal it away, but nope.
No.
Sem9 just walked back in. Flash here from Arashi. Gorgeous again. This Graves jungle on point this game as the blast code comes through with the piercing darkness from Caspiel, but still surviving is Enhout with the stand behind me. Nightstar, I'm feeling it. This is it. I think Sem9 are on the journey to picking up their first win. It's a little bit early, but I will say they are obliterating Jewish team.
Yeah, they are so far ahead. 5k gold lead with the better scaling composition. And yes, the skirmishing power still high from Jewish team. But this is a team that has struggled to find their own opportunities to try and flip the game. Just like what we saw in that Impunity game. Impunity struggling there. And Xiaotu is out on a journey.
Oh, yeah, he is. Hey, Arashi, do you want another kill? He's going to Clips first, by the way. I'm not even going to talk about the kill. I mean, Xiaotu just caught out again, and as WSL goes in, I'm not even sure.
Two levels down.
Yeah, I don't know why WSL wants to take this. What would SOFM like to do? That's exactly what he would do. He'd go for the invade, and he'd be a little bit risque. So he walks away from the Eclipse Graves. What more can you say rather than things just keep going wrong for Jewish team? I wish right now they had some dew because that would put out the fire that keeps on resonating in this early game.
Yeah, this is not a good look for Jewish team here as we get to see the replay. We get to see how Xiaotu does get caught. Oh, does he get the solo kill? Okay, maybe.
Wait.
Okay, so that's how he dies so deep, because he gets the solo kill. You know what? Credit to him. But, you know, all in all, the gold trade is still favorable for Sem9 because they are able to get the assist gold. So things still working out for them, even though Shiadodo, I mean, he gets picked off, but he's quirky. He's still scaling.
That's right. I mean, I think giving compliment to Xiaotu is nice because we have been, you know, we've been criticizing him quite a bit. Yeah. But to be fair, he also deserved it. So I feel like the play gets something back for a team that is sorely lacking in options right now. As Jewish team still items behind as WSL has to get over the wall, but it's because it's in front of Herald. This 2-Dragon team of Sem9 is setting up for the second Herald, and Jewish team have just been chunked out before they even approach the objective.
Lakunai also in base. Not going to be able to get here for a long time. Jewish team, they're just not set up for this.
Yeah, well, there is a Meganar ulti stolen, but he doesn't connect. Xiaotu doesn't find any connection whatsoever. And even No Name in Mininar is going to look for the 1v1 on this Silas mid. Very ambitious as the fight goes on the right side as well. Accent joins on in, but Xiaotu dies to a Mininar. WSL maybe not emulating SOFM as much as I thought, as Enhow. It's too early to block all the damage, especially with Sem9 so far ahead. This could be it. A groundbreaking moment with Sem9 looking pretty close to their first game win of the year.
Oh, and it's not even just them crawling to a victory. Right now, they are full-on sprinting towards that finish line. Out to a 7K gold lead, only 15.5 minutes into the game. And there's just no signs of life coming in from DWT team.
Yep.
Maybe Xiaotu is the only one showing up even a little bit of a bite, but even then, you just see him getting soloed out on the side against this Mininar. And DWT team, they try and commit to the fight on the other side, but the majority of their damage is on Xiaotu. With this, you know, if he gets the Silas Meganar, that really is the majority of their damage right there. They're very, very alt reliant right now. And if they don't hit the Wombo, they don't hit anything.
Yeah, and the game might even end before we see, like, the items on par, right? We did talk a lot about, will DWT team have options in the early lane, even the mid game, right? The skirmishing should be one of the strongest points of this team. But it's easy scaling for Sem9 already with almost 2 items on their jungler. Excuse me, almost 2 items in the top lane. We have a Scion who's already beefy enough and is just running into the enemy jungle. And with third dragon on the horizon, a 7,000 gold lead staring DWT team in the face. Options right now, as you said, the perfect team fight engage, the perfect ultis. It just doesn't look viable when Arashi will one-shot you being 2 levels up over your own team's jungler.
Xiaotu doesn't even have a mythic completed here for this fight. This is a very opportunistic fight that they just have to take to deny the dragon sacking.
Okay, well, Sem9, their jungle gets in. At least the bounty goes down as WSL now starts getting hit, but look at that package. Light it up, Share Dudu. You know exactly where to go. But then how blocks for now. The package, a bit abysmal. Sem9 need to clean this one up as Axon gets ignited and will drop down, but going golden in the nick of time might save his life as No Name's here with an ulti, but Mininar in the nick of time. Axon survives on the back end while Xiaotu still dies, but this Mininar means business. He doesn't need the Meganar to clean this up as he gets the 3-hit passive. The slows there. Lacuna is going to die as well. And No Name is coming at them like he's got the best name in the world.
Oh my god. 3-0-2. I mean, it's essentially 480 carries, right? Because we haven't seen the Meganar really play a factor in these fights. It's just been the Mininar along with 3 other marksmen, Corki, Senna, and Graves. And so far, 3 out of the 4 have had insane success. And the Senna has played a really important role in just keeping the rest of the team up, but now No Name might have spent a little bit too much time.
Well, Xiaotu using the Hex Gates, that's going to cut him off. But my biggest problem here is that Arashi's nearby. Help your top laner. TP comes through from Axon. Xiaotu's still committing with the Meganar ult Stoli. He uses it on Axon, but No Name, even a half HP with the Chain Lash, isn't dead. True Shot Barrage doesn't connect either. DWT team are walking into a trap if they stick around. It's 5 members. You said it, Nightstar. Look at the other 2. Yeah, Sem9 are channeling down mid.
Oh, they're stopping the backs.
Oh, he's going to
stop the ports.
He's going to go Mega as well. If you walk into No Name, you will die. Glacial Prison's there, but he's too far away. Behind the rest of his team is Axon. He's taking no damage. DWT team is a 5-man stack, are losing mid still. No one's backed away. This team, we still called Hurricane Gaming because it's a whirlwind of emotions right now as Lacuna jumps in once more and Arashi has no matter to clean it all up and doesn't really need it. 4 still stand here. The poke in mid.
What is going on?
It continues. DWT team, what are you doing? Xiaotu's going to get traded. Axon has done his job as he flashes away. The Glacial Prison, the Fisher, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. Look at mid. The bottom left is where we should be looking as DWT team. What is this? What are we casting? What is happening? The TP back means the game's not going to end, but That was just ridiculous! What the hell was that?
I think they're sponsored by Benny Hill.
Yeah, you said it, sir. You said it. What was that? Oh my God, Nightstar, take the wheel. Take the wheel.
Oh my lord, that was a sequence of events, Hysterics. I'm sure we'll get some sort of replay. I don't even know how long this replay will be because they could literally just have 30 seconds replay. But then we'll miss probably something else on the map. But Duish team, you gotta give them credit for trying to force a play, but at some point in time, you also have to call the play off. And Duish team just refused to do so. They just wasted so much time in that bot lane trying to find the man advantage fight that they just lost way too much into that mid lane. And Sem9, they are halfway across the finish line, but they still haven't gotten all the way across. They still have to finish the job, which is what they struggled to do yesterday against DCG. They were very close, but just came short. Yeah. It should be easier to do with a 10k gold lead, though.
I mean, I don't even think it's the gold lead. I just think it's based on what we saw. Decision making from Sem9 so far has been pretty clean, right? Like stopping the backs, the two-man push mid. They're waiting for the TP to come through. As I say that, but Shadow is still a Valkyrie away with Corki having the flash. And you know, Duish team in the last play got the dragon.
No name hunting.
But as they stayed in the bottom lane, please, I don't want to look at bot anymore. Xiaotu with the stolen ulti. Glacier Prison forced the flash as No Name's about to go to Meganar. But look, Baron's going to get started here. While Share Dodo is going to play roundabout, making sure WSL gets nowhere near.
Just have to play a little bit conservative.
Run.
That's
He's
Mega.
Mega. Duish team in a choke versus Meganar. The jungler's dead. Give him the Supreme ulti, only on the Xiaotu this time around, but Duish team still dead.
Oh no, that's not where you want to go.
He jumps on in. Sem9 can feel it. They're laughing at Duish team right now. They've played yakety sacks in the bottom lane. Sem9 Nightstar. This is it. This is their moment.
This is indeed their moment. They are one tower, one Nexus away from securing their first organizational win. Duish team, can they stop it?
This year, I mean, 3 people in front of the Nexus. Sem9 making history, killing down Duish team, their first game win of the year. This team no longer winless. It's gotta feel good after that game we just witnessed. Sem9 might not be going to World, but they're going straight to my heart with that win.
Sem9, they've secured their first win this year, their first win in an organization, and they finally did it with having both of their junglers in the lineup. This is what we've been talking about last split, that the strongest players on their roster, Caspiel, Arashi, but now 1 in 25, baby.
Let's go. The whiteboard edited 1 in 25, and also Nightstar, I believe, might have been the fastest game as well. There's No Name sitting there. You'd be reasonably proud considering that was such a rough spring split. Coming into summer, the rejuvenations here. I mean, congrats to Sem9. They deserve it as well. Not only for the last game that they played against DCG, but this one was just so clean against Duish team. Really good punishes, and I don't know, Sem9 now, it's got to only be up from here because they're not bottom of the standings anymore.
They've achieved Sem9. They've done it.
Yeah.
And now it's only up from there, right? Because this team has looked on the up and up. Even though the results haven't shown up in this split, they're still constantly fishing for something, right? We have this sort of musical chairs of roster moves, right? But unlike Impunity, it feels like there's a purpose to all these changes. They're going for specific picks, like yesterday where they had Lazar on the Ahri, but then they threw the Seraphine down into that bot lane, and you can see that there's intent. And that's what we want to see from our bottom teams. How are we growing as a squad, even if the wins aren't coming through?
I mean, look, I think, first of all, first thing we touch on here is we hit on Dewey's team, right? And then we can come back and touch up on Sem 9. That game was just a bit of a muddle. Let's be real, WSL, the top lane was given over with the time he spent. A jungle was too, because Arashi found himself ahead with no contest from this Wukong. I'm kind of concerned looking at Dewey's team, because WSL, this inexperience is shining through, and it's something we talked about before coming into this game.
Yep, and all across the roster, there's still a lack of experience.
Yeah.
Right? Because even in that bottom lane, Bang2 and how they joined the roster this year, they came from the collegiate scene. So there's not a lot of experience on this team in just this level of play.
True.
And that's a big barrier to get through. So Xiaotu being the most experienced one, he hasn't exactly shown himself to be the one to really lead the masses. As we saw his endeavor into the jungle, it didn't pan out very well at all.
No, it really didn't. I feel like that's not the first time I've casted him, and I've said that as well. Like, how many times am I going to look at this team? And on paper, it's like, we look at the roster here and we say, well, okay, maybe Bang2 and Enhao are going to be, you know, the strongest members, or is it going to be Xiaotu? And we look realistically here, and we know this is a bottom two team from the roster alone, but it was just, it was just such a tilted game night start. I don't know. That bottom play, committing for 2 minutes, it's like either go all in and die, flip the game, or run away and back. Because the engage, re-engage, the ping pong between champion spot, like, my hair is falling out. It's falling out. Let's look at post game. Here we go, Nightstar.
Yep, that's the fastest game.
Yep, fastest game of the split. I'm going to pop this open because I was coming in before. 23:36 was the shortest before from Frank Esports. Also against Dewey's team. Isn't that funny? Now, Sem 9 have set it themselves, not only with their first game win, but they're setting up the fastest game of the split themselves. Like, props to this team for the clinical way they played out that game.
The previous shortest game before that, Hysterics, that was J Team versus Dewey's team.
So you're telling me Dewey's team are the runners right now. Well,
oh yeah.
Congrats to No Name. I think we saw many good highlight plays. Solo kill there, Nightstar. That was first blood up in the top lane by himself.
And that really set the tempo of the rest of the game, right? Because there was just this Gnar that they just could not contest.
Yep.
And there were a couple times he tried and sent a couple other extra members, but by then it was just kind of too little too late. The Gnar was just too far ahead. The rest of the squad was too far ahead. The range scaling, just the range escalation, they couldn't touch those champions in that back line. And it was just run away by Sem 9. Congratulations to them. It was not only a win, it was a very clean, clinical win.
It was. And maybe from now, like, we start looking at this team differently. I hope they build from this, right? CFO tomorrow is a very different beast. However, Sem 9 with their first game win, it could be a much different story. Dewey's team, I don't need to talk about them because they're versus DCG tomorrow, and I'm very concerned about this roster. However, Sem 9, one day Golden Worlds, the V5 of the PCS are back up, and DCG vs. Beyond is coming up next, so a very different vibe, Nightstar, for you and me to discuss after this break.